Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is reiterate. I picked this verb because I thought it would fit in with our other verbs that have been about communication this week. We've talked about interpret, translate, and communicate. Reiterate means to say something again or to say it a number of times. And generally, someone is repeating themselves for emphasis. Maybe something is really important, so they're going to remind everyone again and again of its importance. Another reason that someone might repeat something is so that the message or the information is clear. That's what the word clarity means as you look at my definition. The nice thing is that is the only meaning for our verb. That is the only way you're going to hear this verb used. Reiterate is a regular verb. To make the progressive form, we're going to drop the E and then add ing to form reiterate. The past tense and participle forms of this verb are made by adding D. The reason we're just adding a D is this verb already ends with an E. We're never going to add an ed to a verb that already ends in e. The base verb, reiterate, you can hear that. The ending sound there is a T sound. So our past tense ending is going to make an id sound. It's going to add an extra syllable to the word. Reiterated. Now, you'll be happy to know that I don't have any additional meanings. There are no phrasal verbs with reiterate. So again, we're just focusing on saying something again and again as our main meaning. And we'll move on to practicing our verb in a couple different tenses. Today, we'll look at the simple past, the present perfect, and the simple future using be going to. Let's take a look at simple past tense first. To make an affirmative sentence in the simple past tense, we're going to use our past tense form of the verb. This is true no matter what our subject is. Let's look at an example sentence. The governor reiterated the reasoning behind her executive order at the last press conference. So I wanted to look at this sample sentence first to point out we have a time signal here, at the last press conference. That's something that's important about using the simple past tense. We need to have either a stated or implied definite point in the past when we're using the simple past tense. And that will matter when we look at the present perfect in a moment. If I want to make a negative simple past tense sentence, I'm going to use did not and then the base verb. Could also say didn't and the base verb. Notice we're not using the ed form of the verb in the negative. Here's an example sentence. He didn't reiterate the threat. Okay, so he did not repeat it. If I want to make a yes or no question in the simple past tense, I will do that by starting with did, then I'll have my subject, and then the base verb. So again, no ed in questions. Here's an example. Did doctors reiterate the importance of wearing a mask? Now let's look at the present perfect. We can use this verb tense to talk about an action that started in the past and continues into the present, or we can use it to talk about completed events that occurred at some point in the past, but we don't know when. Maybe it was 5 minutes ago, maybe 5 days ago, or 5 years ago. It just might not matter. To make the present perfect, I'm going to use have or has, depending on my subject, and then the participle form of the verb. Here's an example sentence. School officials have reiterated that COVID-19 cases are lower in schools than in the general public. So this is a piece of information that has been shared again and again. They might be sharing it to emphasize the reasoning why or the reasoning behind continuing to have in-person classes. If I want to make a negative present perfect sentence, I'm going to insert not after have or has. Here's an example. The mayor hasn't reiterated her proposal. So this has not been repeated again. If I want to ask a yes or no question in the present perfect, I will start with have or has, then I'll have my subject, and then the participle form of the verb. Have employees reiterated the need for fewer meetings? So perhaps people are very unhappy about how many meetings they have. They talk about it, but maybe they're not telling their supervisors. Could we have less? Could we have fewer? Could we have fewer meetings? So that's the reason behind this question. Now let's take a look at the simple future. And today we're going to focus on making future sentences using be, going, to, and our base verb. The thing that will be a little different is our form of be, right? It's going to have to match our subject. So be will be either am, is, or are. And we'll see different examples as we go through this. Let's look at the affirmative one. The president is going to reiterate that message. Again, that idea of repeat or say again. In the negative, we want to insert not after our be verb. Here's another example. I'm not going to reiterate all the reasons why this is a bad idea. So here the sentence begins with a contraction. I'm is just short for I am. And there we've got our form. Am, not, going to, and our base verb. Finally, let's make a yes or no question in the simple future. We'll start with be, then we'll have our subject, then going to, and the base verb. Are parents going to reiterate the teacher's message and lesson? So that's a question many have asked as more children are learning at home. I just have one word for us to look at today that's related to our verb reiterate, and it's the noun form reiteration. Just like our verb, this noun only has one meaning. It is the action of repeating something. And again, we're typically doing this in order to emphasize how important it is or to make something clearer. Here's an example of this noun in a sentence. The people who attended the event heard a reiteration of campaign promises. So I think this example sentence came from a very old article back when it was still kind of campaigning season and prior to the election. So this idea, they attended the event and they just heard the same information they might have heard previously, just repeated again. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.